Right folks, welcome to this exciting video where you once again join me in the beautiful landscape of Scotland, and for today's adventure you join me on a wild coastal cliff, and it's actually an area that I've documented a lot of history at over the years with the old lime kiln and such like historical items. But on the old 1800s map I actually noticed there's a place marked and it says Castle Remains. So I've come today to document where the castle was at this area of Boddin on the east of Scotland. This castle that I'm about to document, this would have been probably a stronghold or a lookout position looking over the North Sea, probably in the medieval time period, a bit like what we documented with Whistlebury Castle last year when I was up the coast near Kenneth. These little medieval castles were often out on like a pinnacle of land, and I think with today's one there's no much of it left, but it's cool to analyse the land and just put it on a short video to show where it was. And I think we should be able to tell from the land where the main castle was, so let's have a look. I think it's right in line with the field gate, probably out here somewhere, but I'm going to just see how close I can get. I need to stay safe because it's like a real sheer cliff, probably 100 foot or more. So yeah, let's get into the action folks and document this castle of Boddin, forgotten on this piece of land. Could even be 1,000 years old for all we know. This strategic position, look at it, here's our first sight of it. This piece of land here folks, look how it's separate. It's kind of like a wee gorge between the main land and then that little piece, and that's genuinely where the castle had been. But you have to think it was like 1,000 years ago or whatever, and so much more of this will have eroded away and fallen down. Yeah, this is incredible. That is a view of the castle right there, and it would have been defended from the land there with like a bit of a, maybe not a drawbridge, but some sort of defensive bridge. Yeah, that's so cool to see it. This is obviously the fields here now with the farmer. I'm hoping I can just go over the edge of here slightly. The sea looks absolutely choppy and amazing tonight. It's really like stormy out over the North Sea, and it is a bit windy. I apologise for that in the audio. Yeah, take a look at this folks, I'm not even sure how close I can get. There's like loads of gorse, and look, that is an original strategic defensive ditch in front of me right there, and that used to defend the castle there. That's Boddin Castle at that side. I would absolutely love to go down through here, but it's just so overgrown with these bushes. I think this is as close as I can actually even get safely. That is amazing to see. Just think of it when the castle was standing here. It's amazing to have history from all different time periods, and with these medieval castles, sometimes they only had a small strip of land like that to approach the castle from, and then obviously it was defended from the cliffs the whole way around. But with a video like this, it's often just putting it on the map, putting it on the channel for the first time, so you get an idea of how many castles and things were around. When I found out there was one at this particular location, I just thought I had to come down and do a wee video, because we've done so much, like I said earlier, the lime kiln and things that we've seen, and even the location of the old ice house and stuff that's like a private shed. There's so much history down there. And then there's even around the corner old fishery houses and things. Look at these steep slopes down to the beach, and from here you can actually, oh, there's a train going past, oh my goodness. But yeah, from here folks, the windy hilltops, you can actually see the level piece which was the castle. And with today's video, that's basically what I'm showing you. It's that crazy little corner of Scotland. I'm actually racing against sunset to even make this video possible, and it was heavy rain today, so I've just managed to come out when the rain stopped before the sun goes down. You can see the orange in the sky, and that's actually Lunan Bay and stuff up that direction. Yeah, every time I look around I just remember wee adventures I've had in each location. There's a lot of World War II defences and stuff down that beach line of Lunan Bay. Sometimes there was less World War II defences on the cliff like on the landscape where there's cliffs, obviously nobody could really easily invade. So it's normally down on the beaches you get the bunkers. But with today's video, it's so cool to see this. It's an old fortified piece of land, medieval castle foundation right there. And there's no much of it left, so it's cool just to come here and put it on video, folks. And it's cool to see the wild North Sea tonight with the orange kind of tint starting in the clouds as the sun sets. There's actually rainstorms moving all through the land. So because there wasn't much to see up at the castle and there wasn't a big area that I could walk around and have a look, I've actually come a wee bit further up the coast here because a short walk isn't enough for me, folks. But I just thought I would bring the camera with me and just summarise what we've seen there at that last castle. And sometimes those castles were just more like a tower built out on a pinnacle of land, and sometimes they were like a round tower or a square tower. It just depended on often the shape of the land. And then between the mainland and those pinnacles of land there was often a bit dug out, which was either like a narrow bridge or sometimes even like a wooden drawbridge that they would put up and down. And I have seen evidence of that with some of the medieval castles. I've documented 2 or 3 of them on the channel over the years. Look at this, I'm actually coming down underneath the old Victorian railway line, and there's some interesting graffiti on here from like the early days. Some of the stuff here is like from the 1800s and stuff, and I always imagine the person coming along here on their old vintage push bike maybe, and then carving their name in. But yeah, I'm just going for another little madness further up the coast. There is a lot of history in Scotland, so it's cool to have like that castle documented on the channel for the first time ever, because it was only recently I looked there and saw it on the map, and that's why it's cool in this video to include like the picture of the map that you probably just saw before I came down this area. There's actually an old historic graveyard here as well on this pinnacle of land behind the Elephant's Rock, or Elephant Rock as it's called around here, because it looks like an elephant. If you actually go out to the North Sea and then look back at the land here, it's an incredible scene. And then on the map, for back in the ancient times of Scotland, there was actually an old chapel at this location, as well as the burials. So that's a cool nugget of history. There used to actually be an old historical chapel, and that could have been from the times, even around the time of that castle. Just imagine it back then. Like, the history in these lands is incredible. And I have documented like this graveyard and things on previous videos, all the other items of history on the land, even like a little abandoned cottages and stuff that's just like a few walls remaining. It would be amazing fun to like climb out and document more of the castle in today's video, but it's actually just so dangerous because it's at the top of high cliffs and it's just sheer cliffs. So if the land gave way at the edge or whatever, you would just go flying right down like hundreds of feet. But yeah, I just thought I would add this little extra bit in as I came down here, because it's interesting to theorise the history. Imagine the people back then, potentially in the year 1000 or from then onwards, that would have maybe been built or a thriving place, or it would have been roughly around that time potentially. And over those hundreds of years, more of the land has been taken from the sea, creating an even smaller area where the castle used to be. But it is interesting to see how it's level like a foundation. Look at this, folks, the sky's going orange, all different directions. The sun's actually setting over this way here, but it's lighting up the sky the opposite way, pure orange. And look at this field. It was actually combined and stubble the last time I came down here, so it's interesting to see how this is all growing up over the last few months. It's amazing in Scotland as well how things look. Different seasons, different pieces of land can just be so different. Look at the burial ground from here with the sunset sky behind it, the tail end of Elephant Rock, and the cold breeze coming straight off the North Sea, the waves peaking and flowing down, wearing the shore, rolling the pebbles around. And what a scene it's been on today's video. Another castle documented, folks, and it's a castle that's so ancient that even back in the 1800s when my map was made, like literally it was just the castle site of, and the fact that they documented it was the site of a castle, it's cool to keep that history alive with these videos. I'm sure I can see I saw some type of bird flying there. It might have been a heron. It looked like quite a big one. But yeah, what a scene. The further down here I go, I was away to do the outro and I just saw this sky. It's reflecting orange on the sea. Now we can see the lime kiln that we were at the opposite side of earlier in the video. So check it out, folks, since the last clip that you just saw, I've actually been on a mad wee walk, and you can probably tell by how dark it's getting now and how it's proper sunset out here. It's the last couple of like minutes, probably in 10-15 minutes it'll be pure dark here. And I was just thinking as I was walking along, last Sunday I was out with Highlander and we documented the castle, Shano Castle up Glen Esk, and we were out until sunset that night. And then this Sunday night as well, here I am. It's another sunset walk with another castle, Boddin Castle, from an even more ancient time, and it's fun to make the most of these short winter days, squeeze in wee adventures into little corners of Scotland like this, and castles is one of my favourite things to explore. But look at the character of these burial grounds, well, these buildings in the burial ground. This is my favourite, and we'll come over here before we end the video. It's so much fun. The noise of the sea roaring in the background, and then the sight of these gravestones in the long grass with the sunset behind, the silhouette of the farm, and then beyond that the castle that featured in tonight's video. And then look at this mystical old iron gate here, completely corroded from the sea air. Wow, this is just magical, folks. It's almost eerie, to be honest. But what better place to end a fun adventure in Old Castle? This is some mystical old graveyard on the top of a cliff in misty coastal air. I'll end this one here, folks. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll be back soon with the next one, wherever I end up going.